Monday the 14th of April 2025. We have everybody in attendance, so no apologies. I might wait and read this at public question time perhaps. No, just read it now. Yep, okay.
Usual process.
Live streaming of council meetings. I have a statement to read. Ladies and gentlemen, please note this meeting is being audio live streamed and recorded on the council's website in accordance with council's live streaming of open council meetings policy. The recording will be archived and made available on council's website after the meeting. While care is taken to maintain your privacy while in attendance at the council meeting, please note that your presence in the council chambers and or your voice may be live streamed and recorded, including any statement made through public question time, during public question time or consideration of planning matters. All speakers ought to refrain from making any defamatory comments or releasing personal information of another individual without their prior consent. Council accepts no liability for any damage that may result from defamatory comments, and all liability will rest with the individual making those comments. By remaining in the public gallery, you are deemed to consent to being live streamed and recorded. If any person attending the meeting does not agree to being live streamed or recorded, you may choose to leave the meeting. Thank you. Table of contents as is.
Madam Mayor.
Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional and original owners and continuing custodians of this land on which we gather today, and acknowledge elders to past, present and emerging. Do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Terrett.
Council 5.3, notice of motion, Campbelltown and Perth streetscape works. So I own a property in Perth. Item 8, information items, the motion relating to the Perth petition. 8.4, the restoration and retention of Perth parking spaces. Closed council meeting. 3.5, dispute resolution, Councillor Terrett against General Manager as I'm a party to that matter. 4.6 of closed council meeting, petition attachment in relation to the Perth car park space on Main Street as I own a property in Frederick Street.
Does anybody else have any declaration? Councillor Goss.
Yeah, closed council meeting 5.3, tender for Your Road Civil Works.
Anybody else have any declarations of interest? Councillor Archer.
Just received interest in item 7.1.2 in information items, intersection of Woolers Lane and Britain Street.
Is there anybody else who has an interest? I've got to declare in the information items 5.3.1, the motion requesting that I stand down. Okay, confirmation of the ordinary minutes of the council meeting held Monday the 17th of March. Councillor Lambert, you wish to speak?
Yes, please. I'd like to move a motion in regard to the accuracy of those minutes. I'd like to move to review the audio recording of the ordinary meeting held March 17, 2025 at the next ordinary council meeting to be held on the 19th of May 2025 to ensure that the written minutes reflect the audio recording as a true and accurate reflection of the meeting, specifically in relation to the motion from myself, Councillor Lambert, and my second, Councillor Terrett, seeking a pause to the Campbelltown streetscape.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor McCullough is seconding. So next
wording.
wording. Okay, can we pass the wording up to our minute taker, please?
So can I proceed while we wait?
Yes, you can speak to it while it's being written up. We won't be voting on it until you've spoken.
Well, I'll wait till she's typed, because she's got my notes.
And I probably need to read it out anyway.
So does this go before we do the confirmation?
This will be instead of the confirmation of the minutes.
No, leave the other one there until we have a movement there.
So I'll leave that one there, the original recommendation, but I'll take this one out.
And we've got a mover and a seconder for this motion. That's Councillor Lambert and Councillor McCullough. Okay, now I'll just read that out. That we move to review the audio recording of the ordinary meeting held March 17th, 2025, at the next ordinary council meeting to be held on 19th of May 2025, to ensure the written minutes reflect the audio recording as a true and accurate reflection of the meeting, specifically in relation to the motion from Councillor Lambert seeking a pause to the Campbelltown streetscape. That's a fine motion that can be put. Okay, you expect to? Yes, by all means.
Thank you. So I want to put this forward because we need to uphold the legislation. We need to be accountable for the ratepayers of the Northern Midlands, and we need to ensure that we are acting at all times in an open and transparent way as per the legislation. Now, I think the Act is very clear on our responsibilities in relation to the recording of minutes, and I understand that there is also a note on page 49 of the agenda which talks about, I think it's item 8.18, with an explanation as to why the motion was invalid. However, nowhere in the legislation under section 32 or 33, 32 minutes and 33 audio recording of the minutes, does it say that it shouldn't be recorded. So I'd like to just read out those relevant clauses from the Act. So 32 minutes, it says, subject to regulation 34, which I believe that's to do with closed council, the General Manager is to ensure that the minutes of a meeting accurately record the following matters. A, any matter discussed at the meeting, and B, any decision made at the meeting. And further to that, E, any motion approved during the meeting. It doesn't say any legal motion, it says any motion, any matter, any decision. In regard to the audio recording, section 33, part 3 of that says, if after the minutes of a meeting have been confirmed as a true record, a discrepancy between the minutes and the audio recording of that meeting or part of that meeting is noticed, the Council, at the next appropriate meeting, is to review the audio recording and either confirm that the minutes are a true record or amend the minutes to reflect the audio recording and then confirm the minutes as amended to be true and correct. So on the basis of what is written in the legislation in part 32, the minutes, and part 33, the audio recordings, I'm putting this motion forward just to make sure that we are being compliant legislatively in regard to making sure that our minutes and our audio recordings they match.
Thank you. Councillor Terrett?
I fully support Councillor Lambert's motion here. We are to make the records true and correct. I'm not going to discuss the subject matter of those matters. We also had a procedural motion that was also moved, which is not appearing in the minutes. So that also is required to be, and also there was a request to record some information in the minutes, which doesn't appear as well. I think it's imperative that we do review the minutes before we accept them.
Councillor McCullough?
Yeah, I'm assuming that Councillor Lambert is fully supportive of her own motion back in last meeting. So based on that, my philosophy is that as a council, we decided to pause the Campbelltown streetscape. We all agreed on that.
This is only about the minutes, it's not about that
I
motion.
understand that. As a majority, we agreed, and as a result of that, the General Manager then chose to ignore
Excuse
that.
me, this is not about that motion. You're speaking about that motion.
No,
You need to
the
speak about,
minutes.
need to speak about the minutes only.
So change the minutes of the meeting to suit his agenda.
Excuse me,
Point of order, that's a slur against the General Manager.
excuse me, you would be respectful, please. The General
The
Manager
General
needs to
Manager
follow the
chose
rules.
to
There's
change
no
the minutes,
delay.
full stop.
Under the rules.
Change the minutes.
No.
Excuse me, we're going to move on. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
so
this
the
discussion
will be
is
closed
over.
down. Yep, understand.
I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Archer's against. The motion's carried. The date of the next council meeting is Monday, the 19th of May. Motions by councillors. We have a motion regarding the Northern Midlands public pool facilities. The officer's recommendation is that council defer any further discussion on this notice of motion and move to discuss the operations of the 3 Northern Midlands council pools at the next council workshop to allow council officers the opportunity to complete a detailed end of season review. And this is after a motion put forward by Councillor Brooks. Councillor Brooks.
No, I make procedural motion. The motion that was on notice was from Councillor Brooks,
That's right.
and the officer's his own recommendation is only a recommendation. You've preempted that will be the recommendation.
No, I'm just saying that's the
You've
officer's.
just read it out word to word.
Yeah,
Was
The
have
office-
you given Councillor Brooks the opportunity to move his motion?
I'm about to ask Councillor Brooks, do you wish to move a motion? That is the officer's recommendation that I read out.
Councillor Brooks
Councillor
has put a
Brooks.
motion on notice.
Yes, all right,
to this
please be
meeting.
respectful.
I'm being respectful, you're being disrespectful to Councillor Brooks.
Councillor Brooks, do you wish to move a motion?
Yeah, I do wish to move the motion. And here we go, with the 3 Northern Midlands public pool facilities be handed back to the town members to be run by the community and properly appointed committee in accordance with appropriate guidelines, rules and regulations as by the council.
I have a seconder to that motion, Councillor McCullough. Councillor Brooks,
Can I foreshadow another
you
motion?
can foreshadow another motion. Councillor Andrews? You can you can say what your foreshadowed motion is.
Well, if this motion doesn't get up, I'd like to put the officer's recommendation as motion.
That's fine, okay. Councillor Brooks, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yeah, speaking to the motion, since we've had this in place, we've had nothing but issues with the 3 pools. Some of the pools have been open, others have been closed. Campbelltown pool's been closed when Ross pool's been open. You know, we have different weather in Campbelltown to what we do in Ross. We haven't got enough lifeguards. There's been a conglomerate of issues that have plagued the council running these pools. I've been on council for a long time, and the communities that have ran these pools in the past have done a fantastic job. We've never once had the issues that we've had since we've been running the pools. I just don't think we can run them as efficiently as the community. The community know what the community wants. We've given it a go. We've gave it a go, sorry, and it just hasn't worked for us. I think that we can give these pools back to the community and let them continually run it as efficiently and give them as much support as the council can give the committees that have been running these pools for a long period of time under our guidance and compliant. Make sure everything's complied.
Councillor McCullough, do you wish to speak?
Yep, I agree. I concur fully with Councillor Brooks. We have not done a very good job, and when you put a Facebook post up that closed due to weather in Campbelltown and Ross's 5 minutes up the road, or they have lifeguards and we find out it's actually lifeguards, not weather, it just demeans the trust of the community. We had perfectly good running pools for years. We decided that we would take them back. They've been nothing but problematic. The community can do a better job. The Campbelltown community had $30,000 in their savings fund until the council took over. And so, in my opinion, they get volunteers, which is vitally important. We've been told that. So those volunteers take away a lot of the onus or the problems that council create, and they get a better support from the community, and they'll be open more, and then they'll probably get the lifeguards they require. They'll have more passion in it, they'll have more energy, and I think we are demeaning the trust of the community by continuing to run something that we probably shouldn't be involved in.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Archer.
Look, I think it, for all of us, it feels nice to be able to think we can go back to the past, but we live in a very different world, and people tend to forget about compliance, litigation and all the things that happen, new child safety laws that have coming in, and to think that we can't go back to as it was in the past, I think we're deluding ourselves. I believe there's a combination we can work for, but to get that combination of compliance and community interest, I think it needs more work, and I'm happy for the officers to be involved in that, and the councillors and the community. But at this stage, I do not believe under the current laws we could allow the pools to operate under the old system.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I would really like to support Councillor Brooks's motion. I think there's some really good opportunities here for us to work with our communities and to see where we're going with that. However, it does say in the background and in the information that the council officers are actually looking at completing a season's review of the pools. I would really like to see that information to be able to make an informed decision. And I really would like this to be part of that review, this proposal of Councillor Brooks's. I think it's valid, it's got merit, but we also need to look at it in the context of the other information. So I don't feel that I've got all the information to be able to make the decision tonight. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to, so I don't think I can support it tonight, but I'm asking Councillor Brooks whether he might allow that to become part of the review, so we all have all of the information that we need to be able to make a really informed decision about whether we hand back to the communities, whether we don't, whatever the case might be. I just don't think I have got enough information at the moment to make that decision.
Councillor Andrews.
I'd agree with Councillor Lambert, which is why I foreshadowed another motion depending on what happens with this one, that we have to have this discussion, but we have to have it with all the information at hand, and we've got to have the information at hand is how those 3 pools have gone this season. We need that report to see how they're going and what sort of season they've had before we can have this discussion about the future of the pools. And so I can't support this one. I'd like to support the officer's recommendation that we defer this discussion and this motion till after we've got the information from the end of season review and had a workshop on it to talk it through.
Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Brooks? Councillor Adams. Councillor Adams, you've spoken to Councillor Adams. Councillor Adams, you're next.
You want to answer the question?
I was going to see if we could combine the two because the other motion seems a little bit loose.
Well, Councillor Brooks will have a
Listen to what
chance
they're
to
saying.
sum up, so you can do that then. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Anne. Yeah, I think quite true that when you put a message up that you've closed the pool because of weather, and it isn't, and it's you haven't got a lifeguard, is a pretty poor process from council's point of view, and we need to lift our game in that respect. But I agree it's impossible to go back. There are, I just point here, 8 acts I see that we have to comply with pools, everything from the chemicals to whatever. So it's not easy, and then the training procedure, policy requirements under the GSPO and the RSLA goes to probably 2025. So there's a fair bit of work to do there. I'm not opposed to giving Councillor Brooks's argument about the community. I think you've got to find the balance, and we need to do that. But we certainly have to make sure that we are complying with everything that we have to as well. So I would certainly support the concept of getting a complete, detailed review of this past summer, so that we have the figures, that we have the costs, and we can make a policy decision in detail because we have the right information before.
Councillor Terrett.
Over 12 months ago, the Campbelltown District Committee asked for a public meeting to establish a committee again for the Campbelltown pool. That, to date, still has not occurred. And whilst I see there is a lot of merit in Councillor Brooks's motion, it is pointless to hand it back to the community if there's nobody going to do and work on the pool committee. So, and we're making a decision about the future of the pools, yet we don't have that information because we haven't enacted an outstanding resolution of this council, which goes back over 12 months, to have a public meeting and to see if veteran people in Campbelltown would like to form a committee again to have the swimming pool. So I think that is an important factor in the future of these pools as well, that we have sufficient committees that run those pools as well.
Councillor Goss.
Mayor. I'm sorry, but I can't support Councillor Brooks' motion. I've been on the Cressy Pool Committee for about 40 years now, I think, so it's a long time. I've had various roles on that committee, and now I'm on that committee with, as representing council on that committee. I got surprised about the motion that was on there that said within 2 months. That was what I stipulated. So I rang the Cressy Pool and said, have you had some contact from Councillor Brooks about, the pool's being taken over? And they hadn't had any contact. So, before we can move some kind of motion like that, we're going to have to do some consulting with those groups to see if they do want to take them on, or what they do and what they want to do. 40 years is a long time to be involved in a local pool community, I suppose, but the compliance today, I can tell you, is just so much different than what it was 40 years ago. We've got to have people which have got to be certified to test the water. We've got to have people to certify to sign off on all the vulnerable people stuff. All these things they have to do, the committees, and I think that one thing committees walk away from is actually they just can't possibly do all that stuff. It's a full-time job, just meeting the compliance. And you have to be certified to do it, you have to be qualified, you have to do the courses annually to get certification to do it. I mean, it's beyond what you can expect a volunteer community person to do. It's too much. And so council's got to take on these roles. And to throw it back onto a community group, I think would probably be very hard to get someone in a community group to take it on board and do it, because it is very, very complex. And, so many things on the maintenance, looking after the pumps and the pressure, all those things. Cressy's been very lucky over the last 40 years. We've had, 7 or 8, I can think of 7 or 8 people lived on the town, and they had an interest in managing pumps and water and all that type of stuff. And they did it after the pool closed every night, went in 2 or 3 hours, did the backwashes and all the pumps, did all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if today we've got those expertise on those committees to do it, well, with Cressy, to do that. So, I mean, there is a lot of things in pools which I'm sure that the general public are not aware of, and I would say, with all due respect, some councillors here mightn't have a good knowledge of what actually happens on the pool day to day. And I suggest, when the pool's open next year, go along and have a look at them, see how they work, see what operates, see what the people got to do, and we need to look at that before we even start making decisions about giving it back to communities, because there's a lot of responsibility to go back onto them.
Councillor Brooks, do you wish to sum up?
A lot of this stuff isn't new. A lot of this stuff, Councillor Goss, has been going on for a long time. We've had lifeguards for a number of years now, so it's not new. They've been testing the water at pools for years. All these things that you're bringing up, they're not things that have lumbered onto the committee just in 5 minutes. It's stuff that they've been doing for years. So to say that, it's not correct. As far as working with vulnerable people cards, we haven't complied with that. There's people up there working at these pools without working with vulnerable people cards. I know that for a fact. So we need to do our checks and balances as well. So I'm happy to put this motion on hold till we see the report back from council officers. But you don't need to be Einstein to see the problems we've had. We have Ross seems to be working on a different system to what Campbelltown is. Hopefully this will all get picked up in the review, because everyone needs to be working off the same model. They seem to be just let loose and do their own thing, yet Campbelltown and Cressy have to be open at certain times and have to close and all the rest of it, and they suffer when there's no lifeguards. Those lifeguards at Ross should be down at Campbelltown, where there's a bigger population and a bigger pool. Here we are, we're closing the main pool at Campbelltown, and we've got a pool open at Ross with 2 people walking through the gate. So, you need to we need to get our priorities right, but I'm happy to put this motion to bed to wait for the review.
So are you prepared to move the officer's recommendation?
Sorry,
Support.
it's already been moved by
It's
or
been
Shadow.
moved.
Shadow.
It's already been voted. Okay, so I just put this motion. But the mover, you wanted to withdraw the motion.
I'll withdraw the motion then.
Okay, the seconder happy with that?
No, he's not.
No, make it a part.
Mover and seconder, wait a
I'll
minute.
vote to
It's,
follow.
it's the mover that has the choice at the start. You're happy to withdraw it, and the seconder,
No.
you're not happy to
No,
withdraw
I'm
it.
not happy to withdraw. I'm happy to compromise though, because I think there's some valid points been raised. But the other situation is too loose. That no further action in relation to the motion. Sorry. Move to discuss the operations of the three northern pools of the council to allow council officers the opportunity to complete a detailed and season review. At no stage has it come back or things like that. We've been waiting on the other one for over 12 months. So I'd simply like to combine the two together. I'm fully respectful of those objections around the table that have raised issues that we have to discuss, and I think they're valid points. But I think we have to have a timeline on it and have to bring it back, and I'd say 60 days.
Says the next council
Wait a minute,
workshop.
please,
Move
excuse
to the
me.
next council meeting.
Next
So
council
Mover's not
workshop.
prepared to move that motion
That's
now, he's
workshop.
withdrawn the motion.
Next council workshop, yeah. for the
Yeah,
following-
discuss to allow the council to complete it doesn't say at any stage to come back to council.
Now, excuse me, the mover has to agree.
Hang on, can we then adjust that foreshadowed motion if, who put that one up? That we have it at the workshop and then we have the, as an agenda item at the next council meeting.
I'm happy with that.
So you better state the motion that you want to have moved. You're moving a different motion now.
No, it's the same motion.
Same
He's asking
motion.
me if I agree to his amendments.
Yeah,
We just had, is the
Well-
officers comply with that, can they?
First of all, the mover withdrew the motion, so now what are you proposing?
there's been a foreshadowed motion.
Yes, so we'll move this motion. If it's lost, we get the foreshadowed motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
no, although that doesn't work either.
Sorry,
No, sorry.
Councillor Brooks has withdrawn the motion. Councillor Brooks is asking Councillor Andrews if she's prepared to actually amend her foreshadowed motion. So if Councillor Andrews agrees to that, that can be
And I
amended.
am.
So you withdrawn the motion, we don't worry about
Yeah.
that motion anymore, right? So we're on to but it's not a foreshadowed motion because we haven't moved a motion.
Well,
We're just moving a different motion. This is just a different motion.
Was foreshadowed.
Okay, yes. So
So-
not, can we have a motion that's not, you've withdrawn it, so that's okay,
So-
all right. Councillor Andrews, you're
So
putting a
can
motion
I,
forward.
can I move a motion which follows the officer's recommendation
Yep.
that, where are we? Council defer any further discussion of the previous motion to discuss the operations of 3 Northern Midlands pools to the next council workshop to allow council officers the opportunity to complete a detailed end of season review, and then the subject of the pools be on the agenda for the following council meeting.
I'll second that.
Yep.
So councillor McCullough is seconding that. Councillor Andrews, do you wish to speak to it?
I'll just wait for Lee to catch up. You're right, Lee? I've said it before, but I just think that this makes more sense. I agree with Councillor Brooks that we've got to have this discussion around the pools, but we can't do it, as Councillor Adams said, we can't do it till we've got all the information. And this last year, in terms of the operations of all 3 pools, has been different to other years. So I think that we need that information in front of us before we can make an informed decision about where we want the pools to go into the future. So that's why I'm moving this one.
Councillor McCullough, you seconded it. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I just think that's a nice compromise for everybody. We're all going to review the pools, we're going to have a look at it, and we can have that discussion around a council workshop, and then bring it back and have a proper decision made based on that.
Councillor Goss.
Yeah, I support the motion which is up there, but I'm worried about the time frame. Because the workshop's only 2 weeks away for the next workshop, I think, and then council meeting's a month away. I think the opportunity we're not going to do if we go along with this one as it is, we won't talk to the community. I mean, in 2 weeks, how are we going to talk to the Cressy pool committee? How are we going to talk to the people of Campbelltown who use the pool here? How are we going to talk to the people of Voss? And I just can't, that's what I think is most important from where we are now. To do a review and not talk to the people would be a very shallow review.
Madam Mayor, it's a matter of actually going to the workshop, and at the workshop we'll get some direction, even though obviously the final decision is made in the council meeting. And the council meeting needs to have a couple of options, and they can through that process then seek community comment. with regards to what the proposals are, what the options are. So you may not necessarily make a firm decision at the next council meeting, but you may have considered another number of options of which you may seek comment from the community, so you can consider the matter further.
Councillor Adams.
There'll be a few months before the pool's open again, I think.
Councillor Brooks, did you have your hand up? No, right. That's it. All right, I'll put that recommendation. Oh, yes, I'll read it out. Yes, absolutely. The council defer any further discussion on this notice of motion and move to discuss the operation of the 3 Northern Midlands Council pools at the next council workshop to allow council officers the opportunity to complete a detailed end-of-season review and that the subject of the pools be on the agenda for the next council meeting. Councillor Archer.
I don't think it makes sense having discussion on this notice of motion when
No,
we
that's
don't know
right.
what this notice of motion is. So I think that's got to be removed and tidied up.
Or say it's the previous notice of motion.
The previous individual.
And you can
Further
follow
discussion on the previous.
Then follow it when you're doing the minutes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. It's gone 5:30. It's now public question time. Okay, it's the time for, welcome to all the members of the public. It's now the opportunity for anyone who wishes to make a statement or ask a question about something that's not anything to do with a planning item. So it's simply a question or a statement about something that you need to, so you've got 3 minutes and you need to state your name and the town you live in. Yes.
Hello, I'm Jane Yates. My business, I'm new in Campbelltown. My business is Jane's Art. And my question, 2 questions relate to the motion that was supported and moved of Councillor Lambert. So if I can ask a question on that regarding the pausing of the streetscape development. So who was it that actually made the decision? Was it one or more, or a group of councillors, or just the general manager, or that deemed the motion to be illegal?
It was general manager's call because he has to follow legislation.
So can you point me to the section in the legislation that says the general manager can make that sole decision?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Legal advice has confirmed that I'll read it from it's in the actual agenda. And it's on page 49. Legal advice has confirmed that these discussions and resulting development motion was not valid as the requirements of Regulation 8.6 for the Local Government Act meeting procedures regulations 2015 were not satisfied. Specifically, .1 subparagraph A was not complied with as the General Manager did not report the reason why it was not possible to include the matter on the agenda. The General Manager has to report that. Nobody else, I'm sorry. That's what the legislation says. If you go down to the next dot point, and there's more qualifications there if you like to read it, rather than me reading the whole lot out. Subparagraph B was not complied with as the General Manager did not report that the matter was urgent. Again, I did not report that it was urgent. That's required in accordance with the legislation. And .3, subparagraph C was not complied with as the General Manager did not certify that advice had been obtained from a suitably qualified person. And I definitely did not provide that advice to the meeting.
Thank you.
Point of order. The councillors deemed it as urgent.
No, that's not in the legislation, I'm sorry. It's not. It has to be the general manager. That's simply we have to follow legislation. We've got no choice.
So if there was an emergency meeting
Yeah.
and there was no general manager here?
Acting general manager would make the call.
Is that one question for me or 2?
You're right, you can keep going. You've got 3 minutes. Sorry, beg your pardon.
So just with regard to the whole issue of the change or the minutes that were in writing that I've seen as well, how was it missed from that particular thing was missed from the meeting, from the minutes?
Madam Mayor, it wasn't missed. It was deemed invalid. Therefore, I sought advice and was given advice not to include it.
So even though everything should be recorded in the minutes?
Yes, because it was deemed invalid.
even though everything should be recorded in the minutes.
Yes, that's what I said, even though it was deemed invalid, yes.
So is that incorrect?
That was deemed invalid, therefore I was advised not to include it in the minutes.
But is
It was-
that incorrect advice? That it shouldn't be in the minutes, whereas everything should be in the minutes?
Well, sorry, no, if you think that's the case, please seek your own advice on that legally. The advice I've received was invalid, therefore it should not be included in the minutes.
Okay, just trying to clarify, that's
Yes,
all.
yeah, that for sure. Sorry, yeah, no worries, thank you.
Does any other member of the public wish to make a statement or ask a question about something that's not related to a planning item? Just state your name and the town you live in.
Hello, my name is Tegan Watt. I have been a resident of the Northern Midlands for the last 11 years and my husband for almost his 40. We built our family home in this community. After managing the local Commonwealth Bank branch, my family opened our second The Tasmania shop in Campbelltown, which I manage. I welcome changes to our town that create better accessibility to people with mobility requirements, safety for young families, and safety to all forms of transport on our roads. I was not against the angular parking being removed. I understand that this is of great safety concern, but upon review of council plans, my understanding is the street will be narrowed to a single lane width with the proposed changes, which will force the north and south traffic to halt while cars reverse into new parallel parking spots on our national highway, resulting in an option that is no safer than what is currently in place. Further to this, though the proposed changes have been hidden under the tree canopy in the plans available to the public, not reflecting the true impact the narrowing will have. Can a car reverse park safely in the proposed parallel parking spaces outside of Valentine Park, marked as Section 3 of the plans provided to the community without stopping the flow of traffic?
Madam Mayor, is that something that the officer can respond to, or?
Section 3, you're referring to Valentine's Park.
Yes.
So Valentine's Park, there is a centre median that transport can go into that centre median to go past a car that is reversing back into those parallel parkings in front of Valentine's Park. The road width is approximately 4.6 metres, state growth requirement, and it is a single lane highway through Campbelltown as it is now.
And can I just ask you, please, which town do you live in?
Campbelltown.
Campbelltown. I thought so, but it needs to go on the minutes. Is there anybody else who wishes to make a statement or ask a question, please? That's not related to a planning item. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sunny. I'm the manager of IGA Campbelltown. It's more of a statement, like a request, Sunny, that is.
Sorry, Sunny.
Yeah, okay. So I just want to, Sunny.
U-double-E-Y? Thank you.
So just want to say that the recently proposed streetscape plan for Campbelltown, it appears that it has been developed without adequate consultation. In the last meeting when I was here for the first time, I went back, I was told that the consultation happened in 2023. I checked with the previous managers, the owners, and they don't have any record for that consultation. So I firmly believe that it is essential that the voices of those who live and work in Campbelltown are to be heard and respected in the planning process. It's a unique township, as you might have seen. I'm pretty new to this town, but I've seen the uniqueness of this town, considering the only town between Launceston and Hobart. So any development plan, particularly one that alters the public space and infrastructure, should be shaped through meaningful dialogue with the people it serves. Local businesses rely on access, visibility, and foot traffic, while residents value safety, accessibility, and the preservation of the town's charm. I respectfully request that the council pause the implementation of the current streetscape plan and conduct a thorough review in consultation with Campbelltown's residents and businesses. By incorporating their input, the revised plan can truly reflect the needs of the community and contribute positively to its economic, social, and aesthetic development. And this collaborative approach will ensure a more inclusive and beneficial outcome for Campbelltown. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Is there anybody else in the public gallery who wishes to make a statement or ask a question? Okay, yes. Just state your name and the town you live in, please.
My name's Steve Crothers. I live in Campbelltown. The first notification that I got of any streetscape development in Campbelltown was between the last meeting and this meeting when I received the flyer in my letterbox. That's the consultation that I received. I don't know of any other person in Campbelltown who got any consultation other than that. So I don't see that there's been proper consultation with the community at all in relation to this matter. The other thing that concerns me is that narrowing a street in Campbelltown, a major highway with trucks of all sizes, is a danger to pedestrians. I see that as a potential danger to pedestrians. I don't think that's been considered either. So I agree with the other objections made by the people from Campbelltown at this meeting today. This matter needs to be discussed fully with the community, not ignoring the community. And the community shouldn't be told what is good for them. We decide what's good for us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak?
My name's Georgie. I live in Evandale but have a business in Campbelltown. Can I have your surname, please? Sorry, Georgie Wilkinson. Thank you. Is the narrowing of the highway and the proposed changes a prelude to a bypass?
Don't believe it's anything to do with the bypass.
We're not aware of a bypass, and State Grove has had no contact with us.
That would be a state growth rather than council, but there would be some sort of consultation between you guys and them?
Yes, yeah. And obviously the State Grove would also consult the community.
Yeah. Can I ask then, how long is the planning process before it's made public? So State Growth, if they were planning a bypass, at what point would they then make it public?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't say because I'm not aware of them even planning anything in that regard.
I mean, as a council, you must have some idea. Is it 5 years, 15 years, 20 years?
It's not been discussed with us, sorry.
Okay. But zero experience of it in the past? Like with all the highway upgrades that have gone on around the Northern Midlands, you have no
We've
idea?
got plenty of experience with what's gone around Perth, but nothing to do with Campbelltown.
So, but you can give me an idea?
No, we can't because we don't know. So,
Okay, may I ask, what was the time frame for planning being the first public, making people aware of the Perth bypass and it actually coming to fruition?
That was about 10 years.
10 years, but we could research that and ask the question of State Grove.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the public gallery who wishes to make a statement or ask a question?
Yes.
That's right.
My name is Leanne Flood, lived in Campbelltown all my life. And I'd just like to say, perhaps some of you councillors should come down.
Please be respectful.
Yes, I'm going to. Perhaps they should come down when it's the busy period, this Thursday, and just see what the street is like with everyone going away for Easter. When you've got caravans and cars, you've got people wanting to go to the supermarket. Come and have a look and see what it's like. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if that's all. Yes, yes.
I'm Dave. I've lived in Campbelltown.
David, what's your last name?
Kramer with a K. I've lived in Campbelltown since 2014. I've had businesses in Campbelltown since roughly 2011. The one thing we need in Campbelltown is more parking, not less parking. Ideally, we need better signage for the 2 car parks that exist now. Which the signs are tiny. If we start eliminating parking spots with all these islands, you can forget about caravan traffic, you can forget about anyone with a trailer, of which there's a lot, especially this weekend. They're not going to be able to park. I'm just urging council to think about this from a business owner's point of view. We need our customers to be able to get to us. If they can't park, they can't stop. They can't stop, we don't get sales. Employment suffers, everything suffers. Please reconsider the removal of 40% of the parking. It's too much. I don't see why we need 4 pedestrian crossings in one block between the park and IGA. It's too many. You could maybe make an argument for 3, one at each end and one in the middle, but 4 just, too many parking spots gone. Please, more parking, not less.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we'll now move into planning so that we can ask questions about planning. Can we have a mover and a second to move into planning, please? Councillor Lambert and Councillor McCullough. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, now is there anybody in the members of the public who wish to ask a question or make a statement about the planning item, which is 109 Deddington Road, Nile, a lot two-lot subdivision. So if you wish to make a statement about that, you may. Just state your name and where you live.
Madam Mayor, councillors, David Talbot, 240 Deddington Road, which is next door to this proposed subdivision. Would you like me to keep on
Yes,
going?
yes, you've got 3 minutes.
Okay. Our family has run the property Glenmavis since around 1940. It's used for mixed grazing and wool together with fodder crops and a merino stud. We plan to keep the property in the family and continue the productive use of the land as it has been for nearly 90 years. Our concern that the subdivision will impact on the productive use of our land through loss of agricultural production on the neighbouring land that is Camperdown. The application contends that the productive agricultural use of the property Camperdown will not be lost. However, the only productive use for the new smaller lot 1 is to be identified as sheep grazing, with a requirement that is stock and supplement feed in the winter and summer. Anyone who farms sheep will tell you it's not a sustainable agricultural use, this lot 1. The planning scheme requires that both lots within the subdivision provide for the operation of an agricultural use and requires that you consider the capacity for productive agricultural use. The intention of the scheme is to protect the agricultural land, and that includes both the subdivision and our property Glenmavis. The lack of productive use on lot 1 means that this land will become a residential use in a rural setting, which leads to conflict between neighbours and puts our farm in jeopardy. The contention of lot 1 would support 300 DSE on a 50 hectare is not accurate. By comparison, we run 250 head on 830 acres not 5 kilometres away, which is significantly less. The subdivision does not protect the long-term productivity capacity of the land. The council should refuse to grant this permit because of clause 21.5.1 is demonstrably not met. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak about planning 1, the subdivision, 2-lot subdivision at 109 Deddington Road, Nile? Okay, so we will now move into discussing that one. There's a recommendation here from our officers that planning application PLN 240197 to develop and use the land at 109 Deddington Road, Nile for a 2-lot subdivision be approved subject to the following conditions: that the layout not alter, the use and development must be in accordance with the endorsed documents, and the documents are listed there, and council's work department conditions, the access, which is rural. A driveway crossover and hot mix seal must be constructed from the edge of the road to the property boundary of lot 1 in accordance with the council standard drawings. Access works must not commence until an application for vehicle crossing has been approved by council. Don't I have a mover and a seconder for that recommendation, or whatever recommendation you wish? Councillor Archer, you're moving that recommendation?
Yes.
Do a seconder, please? Councillor
second
Adams? Councillor Archer, do you wish to speak to it?
Look, I'm at the moment as a planning authority, and I'm taking into consideration planning law. Subdivision of agricultural land is very important to me, obviously being a farmer, and I don't make decisions lightly, but I must follow the law. The contention here is that the subdivided block is not suitable for agriculture. Taking into account the current use of sheep, that could be debatable, but I'm afraid in our municipality we have masses of different agricultural uses which could operate on that land, be it a horse stud, merino stud, or whatever. So even though running 300 sheep might not be viable, there is probably in 93 hectares of agricultural business that could be. So clause 21.151, I think is probably not able to be used. I believe this is only an application for subdivision. What happens in the future, we can't make that decision today. Obviously, it is the intention of both parties at this stage, the subdivider, to keep this as agricultural land which it is zoned, and I have no evidence for me to say that anything else is going to happen at this stage. There will be an opportunity in planning in the future, if any further development takes place on this land, for people to object or be involved in the process. I would encourage in this process, through mediation, that in consultation between the two parties, some clarity can be provided as to what their future use is for this land, where any future buildings like shearing shed, yards or a house would go, because I believe there are solutions to this problem.
Thank you. Councillor Adams, do you wish to speak to it? Oh, you won't get another right. Sorry. You speak now.
You know, it's very difficult, the argument that I'm not going to make a decision about whether this block is viable for farming, but there is a report that says it is, and that's where I've got to make a decision using the under the authority that I'm now in, of this council, make the decision just on those arguments that are have to be met under the planning law. These arguments are there. I think Councillor Archer summed it up quite well. There also, if after the subdivision, if there's an application for anything else to go on this block, it'll come to council to be dealt with. But I certainly hope the goodwill does apply and people can discuss this issue.
Any further discussion? Councillor McCullough?
Yeah, it's one of those ones you don't want to be sometimes, but I understand the situation between two parties. Our job is to enforce the planning laws as they are. Our job's not emotionally attached to this, unfortunately. So at this stage, it's the same owner proposing the subdivision. It's the same use. It's got a supporting application for that use. But most importantly, any future use has to come back to us to be administered, which should give the objector every right to come back and have another say on that, which is a very different format to the current one. So I have to support that on that basis.
Councillor Brooks?
I won't be supporting it. There's a couple of reasons as to why. The productive use, in the report says the productive use doesn't mention the word viable. How can that use be viable? A business decision. You would not make any money out of it. Always thought that the protection of agricultural land required like a business model before you could actually go cutting up agricultural land. So, you know, I can remember years ago people had come to a council meeting and they had different developments that they wanted to put on these types of areas, and they had a proper business plan there. I haven't seen a business plan here with this. It's productive. It says that it's productive. How viable is it? We're setting someone up to fail in a business if they bought that slice of land. There's no shearing shed. It couldn't even hardly grow grass. So to say that it's a productive piece of land is farcical, really is. I'd like the officer to explain the water supply balance. I can't understand that. It says water supply will remain unchanged. There is insufficient increase in risk from bushfire as a result of the subdivision to warrant provision of a water supply for firefighting purposes. And then it goes on to say, it is noted that any future is likely to require dedicated on-site water supply. Does that mean, what does that mean? Any future what? Building or development? I'm not sure what it actually means. in layman's terms, and it says the present use of the balanced lot will remain. So could an officer explain what that means?
I do apologise. In reviewing that, I've missed the word future development or use in terms of any future use such as a house or any development would require a standalone like water tank in terms of what the bushfire report provided. It was that any further development, any future development would need its own water source. So if it was a house, it might need a certain capacity tank or something like that. But the bushfire report stated that as just land, it doesn't need like a tank or anything like that. It just as land, it's fine. It doesn't have a bushfire risk as such that warrants additional measures.
Councillor Lambert.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Oh, were you finished, Councillor?
Well, it wasn't really finished because, so to put it in simple terms, if that land was cut up and I was to put a caravan out there, so what happens then? If there was like a temporary house built there, what happens then with the firefighting?
If any development were to occur for a sensitive use, being residential or visitor accommodation, short-term accommodation, it would need to comply with the building regulations, and the building regulations bring in bushfire, and it would require something, a tank or well, in this instance, it would be a tank to go with the sensitive use because there's the risk there. But as just land being subdivided, there's no risk to life as such, is how I understand the bushfire requirements to sort of treat that at the moment, which is why they've said it doesn't need a tank just as land.
Just go back onto the report. Is that, do we get a report as well, or do we just go off that report about the productive nature of the land, but the viability doesn't come into it?
The agricultural report, not the bushfire report?
Yeah, the agriculture report.
Do we get it peer reviewed, or do we get a...
Does the viability of it come into it? Like, we get a report done to say they're going to have 300 DSC on it, but how long can that be sustained for?
Something to keep in mind with the context of those reports is that the scheme requires that an agricultural use can occur. An agricultural use is defined within the planning scheme itself. Agricultural use means use of land for propagating, cultivating or harvesting plants, or for keeping and breeding of animals, excluding domestic animals and pets. So it's often discussed around in planning circles as to what's the number of sheep you need to make something viable. The reality of the situation is to meet that definition, you could grow a very small patch, 1 square metre of carrots, and you are cultivating and harvesting plants. But growing 1 square metre of vegetables wouldn't be of a scale or intensity that warranted a house in a future application. So for this, the fact that it can support any number of grazing use or any number of agricultural use as that's defined, it can meet that provision. It comes down to the scale, the provisions in the subdivision criteria in terms of how that's met. Now, as an officer, I have to be a bit of a jack of all trades, but I do profess to be master of none, except planning. And in that, when it comes to those sorts of provisions, we do take reports, not necessarily at face value, we do question and query them, but there are certain levels of things that we have to accept as being beyond our level of expertise. When there is enough suspicion around something like that, we do seek additional advice. In this circumstance, with the provision of how it was calculated for DSE and for the identification that the capacity of the land wasn't changing in the sense that this parcel was already having limited potential as it stood, even as part of the larger area, that by doing that subdivision, by creating that imaginary line, if you will, it's not changing it in the sense that there's nothing development occurring. It's still only going to have the same potential, whether it's part of the rest of the land or not. That land isn't great, like class 1
Does it change if there's a 2 years' time and a development application comes in for a house? Does that change it?
A development application, a future application for any use or development would have to stand on its own grounds. So it might be that a future application comes in and uses the same principles of this and says 300 DSE or something like that. And it's up to that future application to demonstrate that 300 DSE or whatever is proposed is of a scale and intensity that warrants that house to be there, because the house really needs to be subservient to an agricultural use. The test is, am I only able to farm this land to its maximum potential if I live on this site? If it's I can farm it to its maximum potential without the house, then the house doesn't sort of warrant it. But unfortunately, since the new scheme has come in, actually I take that back, since I think the original scheme came in, there's no longer the test for the sort of financial viability of it anymore. It's integral to is the test now.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't be supporting this application either. I have read the documents. I note that part of the lot 1 has a substantial part of it, which is a conservation covenant covering it. So I presume that means there's only certain things that can happen or not happen on that altogether. So that then diminishes the land that is productive. And I just think that it does not stack up to me in terms of being sustainable agricultural use. And I struggle with the fact that this report actually says that it does do that. So I'll be voting against that.
Councillor Andrews.
And I'll be doing the same thing for the same reasons. My understanding is that the bit of land that's being subdivided off, half of it is across the road from the river, and that half that's across the road from the river has no water to it, and so couldn't be described as productive land, supporting productive land. And the number of sheep that's supposed to run on that bit of land with no water is highly questionable in farming terms. So I won't be voting.
Councillor Terrett.
I share Councillor Lambert and Councillor Andrews' concern. The Planning Act actually doesn't really protect property owners fully. Such things as privacy is not a consideration or the amenity until the house or property is built. So as you can see in the report, it's not even taken into account if in a subdivision situation. Noting that it is subservient, any future buildings are subservient, there is no guarantee that a house could be built there. And if this is to be passed at all, then a note should be put onto the zonings saying that that is not basically a guarantee. I come up with the appropriate wording, but something that gives any person who wishes to build on that a clear indication they may not be able to put a building on that as such. Productive agricultural use, I think again is very subjective, and I think we have to be mindful in making these blocks smaller that the impact that's going to have on farming throughout the northern Midlands. I'm concerned basically how this is going to have an impact on neighbouring properties and future owners of these blocks if they wish to go into farming. I don't like seeing people being set up to fail.
Okay, Councillor Archer, do you wish to sum up?
Yes, I would, thank you. Obviously, there's been a divergence of views here. I think we've got to remind ourselves we're a planning authority. We've got to take advice from our officers, and we've got to follow the law. And as I said in my opening comments, who are we to judge what is a viable farming operation? And under law, I know of hazelnut farms, I know of herbs, I know of horse studs, that all be able to operate as agricultural businesses. So even though I'm against cutting up agricultural land and I understand the representor's situation, I believe, and I wish people would believe, we have to follow planning law. I do believe in this thing, as I said at the start, there is the opportunity for mediation and discussion to resolve the issues. But at this stage, under planning law, I have to support the application.
Okay, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour? Aye. So that's Councillor Archer, Councillor Goss, Councillor McCullough, Councillor Adams and myself. All those against? It's Councillor Andrews, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Lambert and Councillor Terrett. The recommendation's passed. It's carried. Thank you. What time are we breaking? No. Just go back through the other things. Yep, that's fine. Okay, we need to move out of planning. Councillor Lambert and Councillor Adams. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We go back right back to nearly the start. Where are we? Okay, okay, yes. 5.3.2. It's a notice of motion, Campbelltown and Perth Streetscape Improvement Works. It's a motion from Councillor McCullough. I am going to read out the officer's recommendation and Councillor McCullough will have the opportunity to move whatever motion he wishes. The officer's recommendation is that no further action will be taken in relation to the notice of motion and that council proceed with the streetscape projects and the Campbelltown Works commence, post the public drop-in information. That the Campbelltown Works commence post the public drop-in information session to be held at the Town Hall, Campbelltown in early May 2025. Now, Councillor McCullough, it's up to you what you want to move.
I want to move my own motion. Yeah.
That the Campbelltown and Perth streetscape improvement works be immediately paused and all works ceased until further notice by council to recommence. Further to this, both matters be brought back to council for discussion at the first available workshop, followed by council voting to retain or initiate any appropriate changes, if considered appropriate, to each plan as applicable, with works to be recommenced on each project as per the council directive after a formal decision has been made. Councillor McCullough is moving that. Do you have a seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Brooks? Councillor McCullough, do you wish to speak to it?
I had to put two motions into one to make the rules, but I think both are applicable, given that there's a petition for the Perth one and the turnout tonight from the people at Campbelltown and the objections put forward. I was the one that actually was one of the proponents that passed this on the basis that a fair bit of consultation had been done. I tend to believe the level of consultation is probably not the standard that we would expect. And given that council have engaged a person to continue that consultation since October last year, one side suggests that the council probably haven't themselves been convinced that the consultation process was adequately covered. People of Campbelltown have great concerns here. I have great concerns here. I'm one to drive through there quite regularly and I see the somewhat chaotic situation as far as the parking goes. As a business owner in a different area, parking is of paramount importance. And I believe that we've got to pause this. I believe that the consultation should be probably inclusive in that. My motion, if someone else wants to, would oblige me there, that would be fine. But I think we've got to pause this. I think we've got to have a really good consultation. There were some great ideas put forward tonight, great ideas at the workshop in relation to the other parking areas around the town. And I think we have to have a united approach. I don't believe that we should be just going in gung-ho. You just got to look at the room tonight to see the passion from the people at Campbelltown to see what situation their businesses are going to be impacted by. So I believe that we have to pause it. That doesn't mean it's a negative or anything or emotive. It's just simply, let's go back, let's talk, let's get it sorted and let's move forward. I don't think anyone in the room would diminish the idea of bettering their town. I just believe that the parking situation is paramount to both towns.
Councillor Brooks.
I drive through Campbelltown on a regular basis as well in heavy vehicles and cars. And generally speaking, if you can't pull up within a reasonable walking distance to a shop there, you won't pull up at all. It's just fact. You can't go and park into a car park with a fully laden truck, a car towing a caravan. It's just not going to happen. So you just keep driving. These residents and business owners from Campbelltown, they rely on this passing trade to actually survive. If they never really cared about their town, we wouldn't have such a turnout that we had tonight. There shouldn't be a rush to do this job. I'd say let's take our time, get it done properly. So what if it's held back for some more time? But at least, hopefully, with some more consultation, and some few redesigns, that we can get it right. And the people of Campbelltown and the business owners of Campbelltown will be happy, and we can all move on and knowing that we've actually done the right thing. If we go in now and do it now, we're saying to the people of Campbelltown, we don't care what you think, Campbelltown, we're going to go and do it anyway. So why don't we just sit back, take a breath, listen to the people that have come tonight and all the other people that have put in representations over the time. And we've been through this before at Longford, Perth, and here we are at Campbelltown. We've had the same problems with consultation. We need to make sure we do it properly and get it right.
Any further discussion?
I'd
Councillor
like to
Lambert.
foreshadow a motion, a different motion, foreshadowed motion to develop designated parking throughout King and Queen Street to replace the at least 15, and I think it could be more than that, but at minimum 15 car spaces that are being discussed as being the maximum that are going to be lost now, and incorporate that into the Campbelltown streetscape.
You have to add William Street to it as well,
I can add William Street to it if you'd like.
because I believe that's in the plans anyway.
But I can't speak to
That's a foreshadowed mate. Okay, so anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Archer.
Yes, obviously, as Councillor Brooks says, the main streets in all those three towns have been a huge issue, and we as a council have got to discuss what obviously our obligations are to provide parking for a business. Some businesses, like in Campbelltown, for example, Banjos, have spent their own money providing car parking behind their business. Other businesses, I understand, cannot do that. Council has already spent money on other car parks, in Valentine's Park and up the road, whatever that, near the hospital. Perhaps some signage would be beneficial. If Campbelltown is going to get bigger and more busy, we're going to have to look at alternative parking. I do not believe the council should be in a situation where you're obligated to provide more parking. I do believe we have some obligation to replace car parking that's been removed. Not from our decision, this is from state growth. And I agree with Councillor Lambert that in the Main Street upgrade, we must plan for future parking around the CBD. And if people do have to walk 50 metres, well, maybe they do. And I think with the four pedestrian crossings across the road, people cannot just walk across where they want to. If you want to go to a shop, you might have to walk 25 metres along the street or 30 metres for safety. There are solutions, but I believe all these solutions can be resolved while the process is going ahead, as appears to be happening to a large degree at Perth. We have funding issues here. We've got to spend this money in a certain time. We have consultation issues. If we haven't got the consultation right in 3 or 4 years, who's to say we're going to get it right in 2 years? Businesses might change hands and then the next person won't have been consulted. It's a constant process. The council is here to make decisions, and at any given point in time, we've got to make the best decision we believe is right. I've listened to the Campbelltown people, but also the 1,000 Campbelltown people that aren't here in this meeting have also got opinions. Some of them might agree, we don't know. But just because I hear noise from some key businesses does not mean to me that it is the general viewpoint of the whole town. So I agree, we have paused it. I've seen some good ideas. We've agreed with some ourselves, But to hold up the project and go through the whole consultation again is not good decision making by local government, I believe.
Okay, so now, Councillor Andrews.
Yes, I'd agree with Councillor Archer. We have, despite what's been said around the table and around Campbelltown in recent times, we have consulted. I know this as a journalist. I've been covering this story since 2017. I know that this council has been consulting, particularly in the Campbelltown area, since 2017. Perhaps we haven't done it well enough, but we've actually already paused. So Councillor McCullough's suggestion is we've already done what he's asking us to do. It's on hold at the moment. And I would go with the officer's recommendation that it's the things on hold at the moment. We're going to have a public drop-in information session just after Easter to let people know what's going on. That I don't think a lot of people know that we're down to, there's only going to be 15 car spaces lost at this stage. I don't think that general information is widespread. We're going to get the opportunity to talk to people before it goes ahead and let them know what's happening and how we're going to compensate for those car spaces. And I agree with Councillor Archer that all that can be done and allay people's fears while we get on with this, because we've been trying to get on with this for some years now, and we will get to the stage very soon, whereas if we don't make progress on the Campbelltown one, we will be breaking the agreement, the terms of the funding agreement, and we'll have to give that money back to the federal government. That's part of the funding agreement. And that means that we'll have works in the main street at Campbelltown, the main street at Perth, that have stopped halfway through without any chance of getting funding to finish them off at some stage in the future. So I believe that we can do what Councillor Archer suggested. We can continue to consult with the community. We can continue to update them on the latest information so that they know what's going on, and we can get on with it.
Can I just ask our project manager, the proposed extra car parking that we're proposing that will be at the information session?
So there's some opportunities in Queen and in King Street. The two opportunities in both those streets is to have 45-degree angle parking or close to 45 or 90-degree parking in those streets. There's provisions to be able to pick up to approximately 40. Don't hold me to that. We've just got to do some detailed assessment on that with clearances to driveways, etc. I'd advise that in both those streets you could pick up a considerable amount of parking. It's all about how far council would like to go east and west on King Street and west on Queen Street. There may be some other issues with stormwater to make that even less, but the Works Manager may be able to comment on some of that. We have some wide nature strips in those two streets. Some is unformed at the moment and people are parking in them on the corner of King at the old Tazag building, and also the IGA is the opposite side there. So there's provisions to make all that line marked and continue up on both those sides. So and to further probably make comment on the angled parking with long vehicle parking, well, none of that angled parking in front of Valentine's Park, you can park with trailers anyway. You're going to lose 11 there, yes, but they're going to be a couple of bays of 3 and 2 in that area. So with that.
And I believe there was some parking that was being planned in William Street.
William Street, there's 10 there. 2 of those are disability parking for people that can, with disabilities access requirements. That's only 20 metres, 22 metres approximately from the doorstep of Service Tasmania. If I was in need of a safer car spot, I'd be going down the William Street than parking in the main street, especially on that corner. That corner in front of the town hall there now is a bus stop. That's been moved from down further south and back up into that position in front of the library there. That bus stop also needs approach distances so the bus can pull safely off the road out of the traffic lane.
Thank you. Councillor McCullough, this was your motion. Do you wish to sum up? Oh, Councillor Lambert, you haven't spoken? You have spoken.
No, I haven't. I've put a forward motion.
Oh, you did. Beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. You're
Thank you.
ready to speak, yes. Thank you.
I just want to draw attention to Perth. Perth hasn't really had much of a conversation in regard to the motion. Perth, the community put a petition together And that petition, although it ended up being an invalid petition for technical reasons, the intent of the petition was correct in that it actually enabled, before the petition was even presented to council, it enabled the community to have a say, but it also allowed the officers to be able to listen to that information, to absorb that, and to actually go and make improvements. So if you go in and have a look at the Perth streetscape now, it actually has a revised streetscape with, I believe, all of the trees that the community wanted taken out have been taken out, car spots put back, and there's some other information in there denoted in different colours that show where our officers here have listened to the requests and have made those, where they could, have made those changes. So that was the power of the petition, which even though it was invalid, actually helped. And I know there were some other technical issues as well, but the crux of the matter is my understanding is that 99%, if not all, of the issues that were being talked about in Perth have now been resolved. And I have spoken to a number of people who are very happy to see those changes. So that's one thing. The second part that I just wanted to focus on is Campbelltown. Now, last meeting, although again, technically it was an invalid motion, that we paused the streetscape in Campbelltown to reassess the parking issues. Now, even though it was invalid, the General Manager still committed the council to do that work. So I was really pleased to see that work has been done. We've had a workshop, which we committed to doing, and I believe the officers had presented a whole lot of information that had come from some of these wonderful people sitting here tonight and other people who have since left the meeting, and they've been workshopped through. So those ideas have been taken seriously and they have been workshopped through, to the point where we were talking about signage earlier on, improvement of signage, William Street being put through, and also to the point now where I might need to amend my foreshadowed motion to 15 to approximately 40 car spaces. There's a real opportunity, and I know there were some people in the community who actually mentioned this as well, to actually build in parking in those areas to compensate for the parking that is the 15 parks that are going to be taken. They're there, more of them. And I believe there are other opportunities as well that that could be investigated as we move forward in terms of the fire station, for example. That's now an empty building. So I presume, we really need to seriously consider looking at that as an option for excess parking into the future for Campbelltown, And we've got to go back and think about 30 plus years ago, there was a concerted effort by the business owners and the people of Campbelltown to build an economic base to encourage people to stop in the town. And Valentine's Park, I think, was the centre of that, and the toilet block, etc. So that was the beginning of it. And we are now at the situation where we have a vibrant town, an economic hub. We want to make sure that we get the best parking that we can. We know state growth is not going to allow us to have the parking at the front of Valentine's Park. But I think with my foreshadowed motion and the work that the officers have done in trying to embed more parking, more opportunities, we've addressed the 15 car spots that are sort of slatted for taking out in other areas of the town. And also I've talked about other opportunities that we can look at as a council. So in that respect, I probably can't support your motion because I think we've actually done the work, and it feels to me a little bit like a retrospective motion now that the work's been done. I appreciate the motion and what the intent is, but I think we've done that work now. And I'd like to thank the officers for that extra work and for listening to the community of Campbelltown who have come up here again tonight to put their information forward. But we do need to remember that parking was the major issue. And I'm hoping that these things have gone some way to addressing that, and into the future, given council other ideas to seriously consider and look at how we address parking moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor McCullough wished to sum up.
Yeah, so I've listened to the table and I I think we've got to work on the word paused. We're not asking it to be ceased, we're asking it to be paused. And there's acknowledgement all around the table that the council hasn't done their communication well, they haven't done their, potentially got work to do on their consultation. And there's a lot of work on the background. Yes, there has, because we've actually been active in the last few weeks in doing it, but I'm not sure that's been relayed to the public yet. I don't know that. As far as I was concerned, the motion for pausing was taken out, given all the argument over the last 3 weeks. So to me, that hasn't been paused. I'm simply saying, for the sake of 30 days, why would we not give the people of Campbelltown, give the people of Perth, particularly the 700 people, the opportunity just to see the plans, have a look, make sure they get involved. What these guys have done up here in relation to the parking, what I'm hearing tonight is absolutely fantastic, absolutely outstanding. So why aren't we just giving this respect to the communities that actually entrust us to fulfil their requirements as representatives of council, to take that and situation and just say, hey, yep, you've done a really good job, council. We've done a fantastic job. You've listened to us, tick. You know, we've all acknowledged that the signage isn't good. We've all acknowledged there's other parking spaces, but why weren't they included to start with? So to me, to complete an amicable relationship between everybody, the situation of a 30-day pause is not monumental. It's not going to ruin the funding. If it rained for 30 days, they wouldn't be working. So I'm not trying to stymie anything here. I'm trying to give the people of Campbelltown, the people of Perth, the respect to just say, hey, council, this time you've done it really, really well. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put that notice of motion of Councillor McCulloch, which does say that all works cease until further notice by council. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Councillor McCulloch and Councillor Brooks. All those against? Councillor Archer, Councillor Andrews.
Point of order, can I just, that comment that you just made there, Mayor,
Yes.
it actually says immediately pause, not...
And all works ceased.
Yeah, but pause, the work's paused.
Yes, and all works cease until further notice by council. So all those against the motion, Councillor Archer, Councillor Andrews, Councillor Lambert, Councillor Goss, Councillor Adams and myself. The motion's lost. Now, Councillor Lambert had a foreshadowed motion.
Your motion.
Yes, I do. I've spoken quite at length about the opportunity there, and I think that will actually address...
What will be your wording?
To develop a designated parking in King and William Streets to replace the at least 15 to 40, we need to amend, potentially 40, car spaces that are to be lost and incorporated into the streetscape, Campbelltown streetscape.
Excuse me, sir. Question.
Yes, question.
Can I just ask, Frank, is that right? Or were you saying before that it's 15 that are going at the moment, we've already found 40 more?
So the developments,
The other way around.
the works currently has 15 spots lost.
Yes.
Okay, so there is potential up to 40. It's not kosher that it will be 40, but there's definitely will be a minimum of 15 that will be able to be found in William and Queen. In King and Queen Street.
Are you seconding that, Councillor
Yes.
Goss?
Is it wrong?
And
Is it wrong? Straight in
yes, I'll repeat the motion, the foreshadowed motion, to develop designated parking in King, Queen and William Street to replace at least 15 to 40 car spaces. Oh, we don't want to say the 40's not being lost, to replace the car spaces that are being lost. Because they're not losing 40, but they are losing 15, yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. Leave it at least 15.
Take that 40 out, yeah. At least 15.
And we know in our
yes.
heart that
Then
it's potentially
you're covered, yeah. The car spaces will be lost and incorporated into the Campbelltown streetscape. So Councillor Lambert, you wish to speak to it?
Oh, look, I just think this is a really sensible compromise, and it has come from the community, which I really thank you for. And as I said before, there are a lot of opportunities to look for further car spots. The fire station's one example, but there are many, many others. But this will allow us to be able to say to the community, well, realistically, they may be in a different place, but they are accessible, they will be well marked, they will become part of the streetscape, so it will happen at the appropriate time during that development of the streetscape, and it will allow this development, I think, to, I hope, go ahead with the knowledge that we've been able to, with the support of the community, find some solutions here.
Councillor Goss, you seconded, would you
Yeah,
speak?
second motion. I'd like to just sort of mention just to the officers that when they're doing their planning for new car places, they do make some allocation for cars with trailers and caravans and boats. Being a frequent person to go through Campbelltown very frequently, we do see these vehicles pulled up all the time, and I do think if they're going to make some allocations in King and Queen Street, I think there should be some places allocated for that. And also I think that should be somewhere highlighted at the start of each town, you know, like trailer parking, this spot, so that people coming into town can see where it is before they get there. I think that's something really important, that people, the community going past knowing that. But I'm not sure whether the current plan has many places for cars and caravans and boats and cars. But I do think we need to provide some parking for some of those vehicles, which is easier for them and safe for them to pull up, and safe for the community as well.
Councillor Brooks.
If anyone wants to, when they drive through Campbelltown next, go up King, Queen and William Street. See how many people are parked there now? No one. How's it going to make anyone want to park around there now just by putting some lines up there? Like, you just don't get it, because people want to park close to a business with a caravan on or a boat. They're not going to go up King, Queen or whatever streets, and they're going to be angle parked. Go up and have a look at them now. They're not there. They're just not parking there. So how are we sitting around here that providing an extra 20 angle parking spots that you can only put a car in? How is that going to improve the parking along the main street? It just won't happen. And I'd like to go on the record to say that, because we'll sit around here in 12 months' time and we'll go and have a look at those on our next bus tour, and we'll see how many people are parked up there. We'll waste a lot of money up there and we won't get any results.
I'll just make two very brief comments. One, there has been some suggestions, very good suggestions around proper signage, and also between the Town Hall and Commonwealth Lane, where this project is to occur, there is no caravan parking along that small stretch at the moment.
So how's a caravan or a truck going to park in King and William Street? They just won't go up there.
They'll park where they park now, probably a bit further down the street. Sorry, but yeah. Councillor Archer, sorry.
Look, I agree with a couple of the comments in regards to the long parking. Yes, trucks, trailers, caravans. I think that obviously should be incorporated in the best place. I just think we need to get back to the message here that the main issue here is public safety, and the second issue might be business survival. The first issue is slowing down the traffic to a point where people can cross the street, putting in pedestrian crossings so people can cross safely. It is not our priority to put a car spot outside every business so people step out of the car and straight into the shop. And in the future, that's not going to be possible anyway if the business is growing like it is in the last 10 years. So we do have to plan as a council for the current, and we'll commit to planning for the future. And I would suggest that if you look at every townscape we've done, we've made mistakes, we've corrected them to a large degree, and as I said in my other comments, we don't have an obligation to provide parking for every business. We do have some obligation to replace parking removed, and I believe the council is doing its best to do that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor McCullough.
Councillor Archer says we don't have any obligation to provide parking, but we don't have any obligation to probably remove it and destroy local businesses because we choose to pretty up a town and take that parking away. Someone spent $6 million on an underpass, which at the time wasn't really that well received and has been a completely white elephant. So we don't have to look too far to see what changes sometimes aren't for the better.
But not this council, though. The council didn't do that.
I'm not saying
Excuse me, Councillor Adams. Councillor McCullough speaking.
So anyway, I just think this is just taking a situation. There's no substance in that. It's to develop design parking in King Street, William Street to replace 15 spaces. it could just get thrown out the door. There's no obligation there to council to enforce it. It's just it's a nothing pretty motion that to me is just demeaning to the people of Campbelltown.
Councillor Lambert, do you wish to sum up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm a solutions-based person and I listen to the community. And I've listened to the community in this respect, and this is the motion. This is the community. So I've listened to the community. This is information that they've brought back to me and to others as well, as a way of trying to solve the parking issue here in Campbelltown. And I would like to thank the community for that, because we've worked together to come up with a valid, I believe, and workable solution. I have spoken to the project manager, who believes that it is absolutely something that can happen. It's not just a pretty motion, it's a dead serious motion, and I would like very much for my colleagues to support the community's motion, which is this motion. We all know that signage needs to improve and things need to, and that's been talked about a lot. So that will happen, I believe, as part of this. But this motion incorporates this into the streetscape, so it will happen. So I would like my colleagues to consider supporting this for the people of Campbelltown who have brought that idea to this chamber.
Okay, I'm going to put that foreshadowed motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Councillor Brooks and Councillor McCullough. The motion's carried. We can get Councillor Terrett back. Thank you. Will we? Did that last one?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, no, I'm the wrong one. I'm trying to move that one.
That was the application.
Okay, we have 5.3.3. We have another notice of motion from Councillor Terrett.
I'd like to move as per my motion on notice.
Right. And that is the motion on notice. Do you have a seconder? Councillor McCullough. And that is notice of motion that council, as a matter of urgency, pause the Campbelltown streetscape development to reassess the parking issue and report back to a workshop prior to progressing the tender process and communicate back to the community. Councillor Terrett, do you wish to speak to it?
Absolutely. This is exactly the same resolution as the previous meeting, which was deemed to be invalid. As this received unanimous support from council at the previous meeting, I believe that this is necessary just so we have it on record that we are moving now a valid motion, and that rather than go through this motion all over again, unfortunately, this is the only way of sticking it back onto the paper, and that the tenders be held up and process until now. I'd assume that no tenders have been entered into or action on the tenders in the last, since the March meeting. So I put the motion to the council.
Councillor McCullough, do you wish to speak?
Councillor
Councillor McCullough?
This is a much more palatable motion, and it summarises what we've all talked around the table. It doesn't provide any animosity, but it does just pause the Campbelltown Hall or streetscape project to allow what every other council around the table seemingly wants. So to me, fully supportive, and it was what fellow councillor Lambert put up last meeting and supported by the majority of councillors.
Councillor Andrews.
I can't support this motion simply because Councillor Terrett would not be aware because he was out of the room, but we've just moved a motion that basically does what you're asking here. So we've done it.
Not informative.
I seek clarification.
Don't you think? We're doubling up.
No, I don't think
We're
so.
going to put the motion back up on the screen.
Different motion
It's a
altogether.
different motion, but it's about the same thing.
So it's addressing what you're addressing in your motion. Yes, but
It's to cover off on the parking. It's to address at least 15, it's potentially 40, but we didn't put that in.
It doesn't address tender process.
No,
No.
there's no word of tenders.
So I think that motion from the previous council meeting should be submitted to council at this meeting as a consequence of that. Because once the tenders have been entered, it makes it very difficult for the community or council to alter that. And therefore, that's why I supported and seconded Councillor Lambert's motion to the previous meeting, because I don't want to see council enter into any financial situation that would be.
Second has spoken. Councillor Andrews, have you finished?
Yes.
Anyone? Councillor Archer.
Could I ask the Works Manager in regards to the tender process, without giving any information you can't give, what or Trent, what kind of works would be involved in King, Queen and William Street, and how they would affect the current project in regards to tenders?
The tender hasn't gone out. The design is ready for tender. Then obviously construction drawings will be updated after the tender process. We could get our engineers to include the King and Queen Street at short notice to be included. There was also talks of having the public drop-in meeting in Campbelltown. So during that period, there is also the Easter period that we're coming up as well. So there would be a possibility the next 3 or 4 weeks for those drawings to be updated to include King and Queen Street, and then go out to tender in about the 4-week period. But be reminded that 2 weeks of that is the top of the Easter break now.
Councillor Goss.
I'd like to foreshadow a motion, and that's the officer's recommendation, please.
Yes. Anyone else wish to speak to this particular motion? Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I think this has been dealt with in our last motion. I don't think we need to go there with this motion. I think it's been dealt with, and I think we've got something that we can live with and we can move on. And so therefore I would support this motion.
Councillor Terry, do you wish to sum up?
Yes, I do. The fact that this council gave unanimous support at the previous meeting to this motion, I find it unusual. The fact that I wasn't here for the previous discussion, I think the fact is the tender process was an important aspect of this, and all we're asking is for a short pause in the tender process, so that we can, if there are additional things that the community can give us input from, we could still take those things on board before the tender process is done. Once those tender processes are done, alteration that may have some financial impact onto the council, which I'm trying to avoid, and I think that was a prudent way of going. It's only for a short period, so that we can do community consultation. The drop-in centres, it's basically getting information out to the community, but they don't have a say at that point.
Thank you. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? And all those against? Okay, so against is Councillor Archer, Councillor Andrews, Councillor Lambert, Councillor Goss, Councillor Adams and myself. So that motion's lost. Councillor Goss, you had a foreshadowed motion, which was the officer's recommendation, I believe. Is that correct? That no further action be taken in relation to the notice of motion and that council proceed with the Campbelltown Streetscape project post the... Oh, am I on the right one? Okay. Post the public drop-in information session to be held at the Campbelltown Hall in early May 2025. Okay. Do you wish to speak to that?
Have I got a second?
Oh, I second it. Beg your pardon. Yes, we need a seconder.
I'll second it.
Councillor Andrews. Councillor Goss.
Just quickly speaking, yes, we did discuss this in the last item pretty well, and we've got a pretty good solution there going forward about looking at extra car parking, which is possibly in those other streets, King and Queen Street, and also I brought up last item also about some parking for bigger vehicles in those areas as well, designated parking for them, and the importance of having signs so people know where those parking spots are. I think that, I don't need to say any more, so I'll just let the motion move.
No, I'm fine. I agree with Councillor Goss.
Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, just a nothing motion again. It says there, post the public drop-in information session. That's not consultation. That's trying to sell what we've already got. So it's not bringing ideas back from the community at all. It's just trying to sell the ones that we've already got. So, you know, there's a difference between consultation and selling the project. In my opinion, that's just, it's smokes and mirrors to the public of Campbelltown.
Councillor Archer.
Firstly, I'd just like to comment on Councillor Kerrick's suggestion that because we supported a pause at the last meeting, whether that's legitimate or not, we should do it again. We have paused, we have listened, we've received emails, and now it's time to get on with it. So I agree, we have paused, it's helped, whether it was legal or not. Now we're going ahead with some consultation. As I said, we can consult forever on every minor detail, but I have confidence that the council officers and the community can solve most of the issues, or all the issues, hopefully, we're talking about.
Councillor Terrett. Oh, sorry, did someone have their hand up that way? No, it's all right. Councillor Terrett.
Yes, I'm certainly not against having the drop-in centres, but if people have ideas which are good, I want to hear from them before we proceed. There may be suggestions that are worthwhile, and what we're saying is you can go along and find out what's happening, but if you have any changes that you propose, we're not going to listen to that. This is it and this is final. I want to listen to the community. That's our role as councillors, to listen to the community, and I think this is a lost opportunity. If we just have a drop-in centre, which is a PR exercise, good idea to tell everybody what it's about, but I also think the better idea is to listen to the community.
Councillor McCullough.
Yeah, the drop-in centre probably should have been done 6 months ago. We first heard from our officer that this new car parking arrangement hasn't even been included in the tender documents. So you're promising something, or we're falling back onto a position. We're not listening to the community. We're just saying, no, we're going to do it our way. We was paused supposedly, but we weren't paused because the general manager decided that he didn't want to pause.
Excuse me.
That's what he said. Is that what he said?
Excuse me,
Is
just
that what he said?
make comment about the
general manager
motion.
chose to pause something, so we didn't know whether we paused it or
derogatory
not. But Councillor Archer now telling me we were paused, but we weren't paused, so we don't really know. We've got the officer up there saying, "Oh, this isn't included in the tender documents." We've got the Councillor Lambert here going against her other motion, but suggesting that we're doing this on behalf of the community, but there's nothing there to rock that's actually locked in. So I'm having a real difficulty here saying where the consultation is, seeing where the community are being respected, and seeing why we would just not pause it for 30 days so that we can actually all be happy. So as it stands here today, you're growing antagonism, you're growing community resentment.
Point of order, this isn't dealing with the motion that's before the chair.
Yes, it is. That's what the motion's causing.
Everybody, please be quiet. Finish up. Finish up, please,
causing.
respectfully.
I've got time to speak, so just be respectful to me, please. I am, but I've been interrupted by a fellow councillor.
Please, get on with it.
So get on with it.
Yes.
That's the mayor speaking, is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so what I'm saying is you're causing all this resentment, all this antagonism because the general manager chooses to want to put this vote
That is not
forward
being respectful, please.
and
I'm going to, okay, discussion, excuse me, Councillor Andrews. Excuse me, everybody. Excuse me. Discussion is finished.
So I'm stating facts.
No,
So I'm
discussion
stating
is
facts,
finished. You're
and
not
that
stating facts.
for the sake of 30 days,
I will suspend the meeting if you don't stop,
I've got a
please.
time to speak, and I've done nothing wrong. So for 30 days, why wouldn't you pause the meeting?
Meeting is suspended. Until after the meal. I'm very sorry, people. We've taken half an hour. 30 minutes.
So we'll be back 20 past.
You get shut down.
Standing motion be put, please.
Yes, can I have a seconder to that, please? Councillor. Okay, now procedural motion's been moved by Councillor Archer. Procedural. And seconded by Councillor Andrews. There's no discussion. I put that motion. All those in favour? That the motion be put. Yes.
Motion be put.
Yes.
And it was seconded by councillor Andrews.
Yes. But I need, the procedural motion needs to be moved and seconded.
No further discussion.
There's no further discussion. The procedural motion is going to be voted on now. I'll put that the motion be put. I put that the motion be put. All those in favour?
Yeah, hang on. I was going to ask, what are we voting for?
It's a procedural motion, that the motion on the table be put.
Which
End of
motion?
story. That the motion that we've been discussing, that no further action be taken in relation to the notice of motion, and but that's not what we're voting on. We're actually voting that motion be put. So, there's no debate. I'm going to put that recommendation, that motion. All those in favour? Against? Councillor McCullough and Councillor Brooks against. The motion's carried. That means I put this motion now, the officer's recommendation, that no further action be taken in relation to the notice of motion, and the council proceed with the Campbelltown project streetscape, close the public drop-in information session to be held at the Campbelltown Hall, Campbelltown in early May 2025. There is no discussion. I'm just simply putting that motion. All those in favour? We've had a
dictatorship.
We have had a procedural motion.
A procedural motion to tell us what we're going to do.
Yes.
Oh, you're unbelievable. I'm glad it's on public record.
Yes.
To see what you are doing. No, there's no order. This is just dictatorship.
Please, if you can't be respectful, you don't have to stay in the meeting. Okay, this is a procedural motion. The rules of meeting procedure say that I now put this motion, which I'm about to do. I'll put all those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Councillor Terrett, put your hands up, please.
Very clearly.
Councillor McCullough and Councillor Brooks against. The motion's carried. We move on to the next thing.
Don't need a council.
No, let's go.
No questions on that. Will you-
All parliaments, all houses of parliament.
Everybody, please be quiet. Okay, council committees, the confirmation of the minutes of 3 committees, Ross Community Sports Club, Cressy District Committee and Longford District Committee.
I'll move that.
Councillor Adams is moving, Councillor Lambert is seconding. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, council committee's recommendations. The Cressy District Committee, they've got a recommendation around their secretarial funding approval for a PA system. The officer's recommendation that council approves the Cressy District Committee request to use the secretarial funding allocation for the purchase of a PA system. You do not have to move that, but you can. A mover, Councillor Goss and Councillor Lambert. Goss, yes?
Procedural motion.
Yes.
It's their money. Whether it's better, rather than bringing these back to council, to delegate this to an officer to make this decision, rather than delay waiting for this money to be granted when the district committee have already earmarked it. And I wouldn't like to go back to them and say, no, you can't have it after they've decided that this is how they'd like to spend their surplus.
I'll ask the gentleman, do we have a particular procedure and policy around this?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it's in regards to, I think it's the MOU, it clearly identified Fund 2.5, and reading down through the page, on page 23, it's on council approved projects. So council can amend the MOU if they wish, to require them not to come back to us, but at this stage, that's the practice, but it can be amended.
Can I just ask
A question?
Yeah. Given that we're going through a bit of a review at the moment, whether that's become something we should consider in the future.
Yes,
In
definitely.
the MOUs?
Yep, definitely.
Any discussion around the actual motion? Councillor Goss?
Yeah, just on the Cressy committee requested the funds, but it's a Cressy Swimming Pool Committee. They manage the Cressy Memorial Swimming Pool Committee. They manage the Anzac service. So these speakers are used for the Anzac service. In past years, they've had a local person, they borrowed them off, but that sort of broken down for various reasons, so they can't borrow them anymore. They've got an old set of their own, which are many years old, and they're not up to they just don't work as well in the community. Cressy's quite a big service, and it's outdoor, like most of them are, and it is quite, they do need to replace what they've got, so I think it'll be a really good move. And I know Cressy's already earmarked some of the funding they've had from years gone by, just for Miss Bicknell's years, I suppose. They've earmarked some funding from years gone by, which they've got in the bank apparently for the new banners, which are going to go on the main street, and they've also allocated that. So they've got a couple of things coming up pretty soon. They're still going through procedure. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Lambert's first.
Yeah, I was just at the meeting where they discussed this, and there was considerable frustration about being able to use appropriate PA systems, and also the fact that it would be a shared resource amongst the Cressy community, and they would be really grateful and pleased if council would pass this tonight.
Councillor Andrews.
Yes, this group of people has a long tradition of working for their community and fundraising and pouring everything back into the community, and I think it's fantastic that they've made this decision to use their secretarial funds for something else, which will be fabulous in the community. It's great.
Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Longford Local District Committee, have a recommendation around the significant tree nomination extension, and the officer's recommendation is that council extends the nomination period for the significant tree register until the 30th of June. Councillor Goss, you're moving that?
I'll move that.
Councillor Adams, you're seconding? And Councillor Goss, do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, I think this is probably pretty important. The reason why I do think it's so important is that when we look at what happened at Cressy Town last meeting, where they removed a significant oak tree in a cemetery, and really hurt the Cressy community. And I think that having these things available for people to put trees on the register for a bit more time, so they do get the register right. I think that's important to have that. I did have one question for the officer, possibly, that I just wondered that the register is until the 30th of June, but is that the end of it? Can you still add to the register after that? It's not finalised. I mean, I'm not sure what the process is, but it's open for everyone that you can.
Yeah, that's how I would see it, yes.
That's right, yeah. 30th of June will be sort of the first, essentially, round of it, which will then go on to look at scheme amendments, but people can continue to put them in at any time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Councillor Adams.
these are volunteers, so people doing it in their own time, and I think there was a sickness as well, and so they're trying to get their list made up so that when they start off, it's a fair list of a fair representation of the town and the municipality.
Councillor Andrews.
I think there's, the district committees have stirred up a huge amount of interest in this. Everybody's all of a sudden wandering around the streets, looking up at trees and thinking we better stick that on the register, and they've realised that they need quite a bit of time to do it, so this is a good thing to extend the time out for this first round.
Those are students. Councillor Archer. Oh, no.
Could I just say that I think we've got to be careful here. It's going to open a bit of a can of worms, and we need to have our protocols sorted out, because I can see a development about to happen. Someone rushes in and lifts the tree. So the planning, the protocols of timeliness and things like that need to be very clear, because otherwise someone in council is going to be in a lot of trouble at some point. So I just think if you list it, it might need to be 2 months it's on or off or whatever, just the protocols need to be clear.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Information items are next. There is a recommendation. Okay. Do you want to close the door, Councillor Terry? Thank you. There's a recommendation that council acknowledge the receipt of the non-compliant petition presented to council by Russell Mackenzie on the 27th of March 2025, and with further pages received by email consequent to that date. The petition is relative to the restoration and retention of Perth parking spaces on the main road. I have a mover and a seconder that we acknowledge receipt of this petition. Councillor Lambert and Councillor Andrews. Any discussion, Councillor Lambert?
I'd just like to get some clarification on the non-compliance aspect of the petition, just so it's on the record, so it's very clear. I'm not sure that it was super clear in the papers, so I'd like some explanation, if I may, from the General Manager or Officer.
So the petition we received was missing some things that it needed to as per the process, which was it was not signed. It needs to have a statement regarding the amount of the people that had signed the petition, and it stated a number, but it didn't really have a statement about it. The person has acknowledged that they didn't sign it, but what we receive is what gets tabled to you. So that's why it didn't comply with the requirements.
Just on that then, can I maybe suggest to council that we need to look at a process of, checks and balances to help our community members out when they're doing their petitions, just to make sure that these things don't happen again. I'm sure everyone around this table understands the importance of that particular petition, but also to make sure that people along the way, because legislation can look very wordy, and if you're not used to dealing with it, it can be misinterpreted easy or missed. In this case, it looks like something got missed. But I think as a council, we need to be helping our community members to make sure that these petitions, that they get them lodged in the correct manner with the correct signatures and statements and things like that. And maybe a checklist could be developed that we could then be able to help our community members with. I think that would be appropriate moving forward. And in regard to this petition, it has actually, regardless of it being compliant or not compliant, it actually did what it was aimed to do, which was to get us as a council to look at addressing some issues in the streetscape, and we did that. So, but we just need to fix that process so it doesn't happen again.
Councillor Andrews.
No, I'm fine. I agree with what.
Councillor McCullough.
Can you just advise what the statement means? You said about a statement. What does that mean?
Probably more than just writing the amount of signatures.
So a topic or a point or a specific agenda?
If I was to write a statement, I would write this petition includes X amount of signatures received in person. This also had some online components, so X amount of signatures.
Summary? Is that a description of summary?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, sorry, keep going.
I'm just a little bit miffed, and I concur totally with Councillor Lambert, that the public are not solicitors and they're not councillors, they're not council administration. So why they're not assisted in this area when you've got some 700 signatures, which is basically 1/3 of the Perth population in real terms. I'm not sure of the specific, I noticed an Evandale signature and stuff like that, but why we're not going back to them and assisting them with providing that correction before the meeting. We've just gone through to the meeting and said it's not compliant. I think it's very important, given 700 signatures of a town about a project or something significant.
Sorry, were there 700 signatures?
700 I was understanding of. No?
Yeah, sorry, I thought it was closer to 600.
I was told at 700, but 621 signatures is a substantial amount of community. I'm wondering why we didn't go back to them so that they could actually present the petition to the council in a compliant manner.
What was handed over is what has been accepted, but we can provide some further update to our website with a better process so this doesn't happen again. If somebody would like to move something for us to do that.
Can I move a motion that we...
That will happen anyway, won't it? We'll just make sure that happens anyway.
Okay.
And can we ask that can we make a motion that be returned to the community, whoever put it up? So
It's already been accepted, Councillor McCullough. They can do it again and do it properly if they wish. It's been accepted.
Anyway, I just find it very amazing that on such a contentious subject, we've just ignored 600 things. Now, Councillor Lambert said that we've changed things. I am not aware of the changes, so should I be, or?
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Yeah, it's an updated plan on the, under the strategic projects.
Yeah.
Councillor Archer.
One, I'll call it a deficiency I saw in the petition, and I did take notice of it, was that there were no dates on the signature. And in the context of where we have a moving picture of developments happening in a project, you don't know whether someone signed that before we made any changes to the Perth Streetscape or whether we made changes and they've picked it up. So I think ideally we'd have some idea of what date they signed that petition. Because in this kind of scenario, they could have been signing it, and since then, changes they wish to happen have been made. I think that's a very important point.
Councillor Adams.
Yeah, it's very hard to take it back to somebody if people have signed it. You can't go and get 600 people together to say that, here we are, we've got it wrong and we want you to, because what's on top of the petition is what's got to be accepted by a council. So you've got to get that right. So what's on it, and this applies to all the parliaments and everything else. And there are, I'm pleased if we've got an online petition process. Had a bit of experience with that. But you've got to have what the reason why the petition is being formed, why people are signing it. That's got to be on the top of it, on the top of every page, really. And there should be a signature, address, and a date. I think, is that compliance? Yeah. And that's fair enough. And if we've done it, we've done it. It's now on the website, I guess.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now, oh yes, Councillor Terry. Yes. And I need to leave for one of the information items.
Discuss those items.
Oh, yeah.
We've done information items. I thought
Councillor Terry's got to come back. That was simply to receive the petition.
Because of the other thing.
Because of the petition. Okay, so we'll deal with everything except, we're going to deal with everything except 8.6 and what's the one I said? 5.3.1. We're going to deal with everything except those two. Did you only have one in there, Councillor Terry?
8.4, sorry.
8.4, okay, cool.
I'm working with the acceptance.
Yeah, Councillor Adams is moving. Have a seconder to accept everything else. Councillor Andrews, any questions about anything else other than those items? Councillor Terrett.
Just I notice in the actions for the speed limit on Illawarra Road, Longford, it's now been 12 months since we've been asking constantly to state growth for a response about that. I'm getting a bit fed up with them, to be quite frank, and I think it's now time to escalate this even further, and that this is really something that should be referred to our state members in relation to their failure to respond in relation to speed limits, and particularly the Minister, who happens to be one of our local members, Kerry, as well, that in relation to that we should write to our local members about the delay that this has happened, and that the council wishes that speed limit to be reduced.
Councillor, in a minute you can. Councillor Andrews is next though.
I've got 3 questions, it could be 2. So on page 35, 16.1, it's the one that's on top of the page at page 35, that council liaise with Department of State Growth to have them carry out the pavement repairs of Wellington Street around the Littleton Street Junction as soon as practical. And then there's one over here on page 39 about repairing the sides of the road. Will that all happen at the same time, or are those two separate jobs?
I'd ask the works manager to respond, or we will actually follow that up if he's not aware.
Down through the main street, they're actually going to do the sides of the road and the main centre of about 7.6 metres after Easter, do all of it, and the repairs in that section's actually in theirs.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes,
So
and they'll
we'll
do
all
that,
be in
and
the
we're going to
same
do back
plot.
into the intersection where council will actually pay for.
Yeah.
And that'll all be done.
Yeah.
It'll all be done from, I think it's marked up at Smith Street, and it just goes up to the old post office.
Yeah. Thank you, that's terrific. And then the other one is bottom of page 39, 7.1.2. It says that council act needed to improve the safety of the Warmers Lane and Brickerton Street corner. And then in the action taken, right at the bottom, it says additional works to be carried out in accordance with the report. Can I find out what the additional works are, please? Still to be carried out?
I think there need to.
Works manager.
So the traffic report to come back to council, there'll be a discussion in the workshop, which way we go. The report is pretty open-ended, how we want to work this. There'll be a couple of ideas of closing the road totally, trying to keep one lane open or what, so it'll come back to a workshop.
Councillor Adams, you had some response to Councillor Terry.
Illawarra Road, it's been reported to the district committee that the minister met with landowners out there about the speed limit and other things. So there is, I think there's been some movement there in the sense of consultation from the minister. What the outcomes are or whatever, I don't know.
Councillor Terry.
In due respect, Councillor Adams, often it's not the minister who we have problems with, it's sometimes bureaucrats. And there is a safety concern on Illawarra Road. People turning out of the farm entrances, near misses and so forth. And
Councillor Adams, let Councillor.
I'm just saying that it's good that they meet with the minister, but I don't think that diminishes the fact that our delays have not been with the minister, but with the department, and sometimes the department needs a bit of push as well.
Councillor Lambert.
Okay, I'm just querying where we're at with our youth officer. Because I thought we had one.
No, we've been through two review processes, so I'm sorry, I won't be, we're progressing on the appointment of an officer.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I need to know.
Councillor Archer.
Item 711 on top of page 35, in regards to A doubles and B doubles, just fill in, we're waiting response from Straight Growth into whether they've been given access, especially to the Longford streets. Have we got A doubles going through the middle of Longford, or are they limited to the highway?
Works manager.
Union Street, they've got come off Wellington Street and going into Cairn Street down to Pivot. That's all we've got in the streets. That's as far as they can go.
Councillor Andrews.
Can I just ask, how does that govern the doubles that are coming out of the landscape area behind Brown's old store? They're not dog trailers, they're big trucks with big trailers on behind. And they're happening on a no, it's not anymore. It's not anymore.
One person at a time, please. That works manager will answer.
I'll have to follow up, but I believe they're quad dogs, not B doubles or A doubles. They're a different configuration of a truck and trailer.
One at a time, please.
So we can't restrict those very big trucks with trailers from coming out of what is no longer the mulch centre. It's moving materials from a quarry to there for storage and then out onto big jobs. So it's become much more than a mulch centre, and they're using big, heavy vehicles in and out of there all the time.
I don't believe so, but I will follow up and come back to you.
And just a quick question, Councillor Terrett. Our officer needed to clarify your interest was for 8.4, not for 8.6.
That's to do with the...
Yeah. There's not 8.6.
Yeah, it's 8.4.
That's all, not 8.6. Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to put all the information items except for 8.4 and 5.3.1. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Okay, if you want, we'll do yours next.
That I have an interest in Perth Bank Street.
So this is 8.4.
What page is that on there?
Page, hang on a second, I have a look at the bottom of it. Page 27. It's petition.
Page 27.
Petition restoration and retention of Perth parking spaces on Main Road. We've already had the discussion, so I'll put that, unless you've got another discussion.
Yeah, I've got it down.
Do you want to move that we accept that?
I'll move that we accept that.
Yes, and now we should add a seconder, please. Councillor Adams, okay, Councillor Voss.
Just that, can I call it I call it the Punt Road end of Main Street. The people down there have had lots of comments about how really happy they are with the works happening down there. They're really pleased with what they got. They think that it's really lifted the standard of the street down there, and they really, they've passed on their thanks to council, and they deal. Two people commented also that they felt a bit sorry for the workers there, because some of the workers got a fair bit of flack from not council workers. I think they're contractors have been getting flack from the community while they've been doing the job. So, but they're really pleased down the Punt Road end of that development, and they're really pleased with what they've got, and it seems to work really well for them. Thank you.
Councillor McCullough.
This is 8.4.
Yes.
What's that got to do with the petition? I was just asking what that's got to do with the petition. We're talking about the petition, aren't we?
8.4 in information items.
Page 27.
Page 27.
It's about a petition. It's not about a petition, not the streetscape.
It's about the petition. Anyway, yeah. All right, I'll put that recommendation that we accept that item. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Deputy Mayor, can you take the seat for the item that's on page 38?
What are we on? 38.
Put it back in? Oh, no, I'll let him know. Yep.
It's on page 38, 5.3.1. Councillor Terry, yes. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive that item? Councillor McCullough, sorry, and seconded Councillor Goss. Any discussion?
Can you just give us an update on that, please?
No.
Sorry?
No update.
So when will we get an update?
We'll see what I can bring forward to the next meeting.
Thank you.
I'll move and seconded to receive the item. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
Thank you. Okay, that's information items done.
What page are we up to?
You go right down here. Okay, we're up to page 68.
I'll move the recommendation that the report be noted.
Let's have a minute to find the page.
Yeah, me too.
68, 69.
Okay. Oh. So it's 13.1. Yeah, 13.1, Development Services Monthly Report. There's a recommendation that the report be accepted. Mover and a seconder, and then you can ask questions. Councillor Adams, sorry. I was looking for it. Councillor Andrews. Okay, any questions? No questions, I'll put the recommendation, all those in favour? Oh, councillor Andrews?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Just on the flood mapping, have we had any further notice when that updated SES mapping might come back, report might come back?
At this stage, I'm not aware of. We have any advice from SES?
No, I have contacted them, but I'll try and get a more certain date for that. Yep.
Okay, I'll put the recommendation, all those in favour? Against? Carried. 13.2 is the consultation on the revised development assessment panel bill 2025. There's a recommendation there that council provide the following submission. Consistent with its responses of 28th of November 23 on the position paper and the 11th of November 24 to the draft land use planning approvals development assessment panel, the Northern Midlands Council remains concerned that development assessment panel framework is an unnecessary process that is not guaranteed to achieve the intended outcomes, but rather disrupt the current assessment processes that are largely working well. And there's some other recommendations. I trust everybody has read those. I'll read them out if you wish. No? Okay, a mover and a seconder that we
I'll move the recommendation.
move the recommendation. Thank you, councillor Adams. I need a seconder. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Councillor Goss, thank you. And councillor Adams, do you wish to speak to it?
No, I think it's all straightforward.
Councillor Goss, do you wish to say something?
Thank you.
Right. Anybody, any other discussion? Councillor Andrews.
Yeah, just to say, I think that the officers summarised the feelings around the table really well.
I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 14.1, swimming pool analysis, 24-25 season. There's a recommendation there that council receive the report and discuss the operations of the 3 Northern Midlands Council pools at the next council workshop to allow officers the opportunity to complete a detailed end of season review. Councillor Andrews, you're moving. Councillor Goss is seconding. Councillor Andrews, do you wish to speak to it?
Just to say this should support Councillor Brooks's motion before, that we look as though we're putting together the information we need to have a healthy discussion about the pools, so that's good.
Councillor Goss.
Yeah, just that when we speak at the workshop, we've got some information here, but I think other stuff we need to have also. I think it'd be important to have this. I think we need to have that feedback from the community, and I think it'd be great if we get that done sooner rather than later. It's much better to do it close to where the season's been going and leave it for later on down the track, and people might forget or lose a bit of interest or whatever. The other thing also that I think is probably really important, I think it's important for all to know just the cost of stuff like the maintenance and dealing with the, keeping the chemicals, what chemicals we use, all those costs in that. Even the cleaning of the pools, all the costs involved in that. So all the costs that council pay, which are not highlighted in this little bit of a little bit here, I think that's really important we get the information back to us. Stuff like the water quality. I know I think we have a person that works for council that goes around and tests the pool every week. He spent the whole day going around testing all the pools because it takes a day to go between Cressy, Campbelltown and Ross and the tested pools. I mean, all that stuff needs to be documented and highlighted, and those costs we've got associated with that and the time, we need to be accounted. So when we're making about decisions about other groups taking over, well then at least we know what the facts are and the data is, because of the stuff here, which is good, I think that's really important. So and there's probably other things that I've missed as well. Things like lawn mowing and maintenance, that kind of stuff. I mean, Cressy Pool Committee used to do all that, and now the council does it all. So we need to include those costs as well in that, which costs council and the time. Also, I just noticed in the report, I'll just mention this, and maybe we get some more information on this by the time it's come back to council, because it says that it's Ross hasn't got the financial provided yet. But if I go back to Cressy Pool, I think last season the Cressy swimming pool committee, they kept all the funds for the gate takings for the season, and then they paid, I think, $28,000 to council as the additional money that went over 550 hours. So the pool paid for the rest of that. I think it was $28,000 last year. I just noticed on here that Ross Pool, the committee's collecting the money, but what happens to that money? How's that going? I mean, council's got a $54,000 wages bill, but there's no mention where that money's offset, and I'd like to see some information about the meeting. I think this is a really good thing to do, a review of all the pools, because they are a really critical bit of infrastructure that our communities have, and very important to the towns and communities of Cressy, Campbelltown and Ross. And I think that they're in a small country town, something that communities really cherish, and they really use a lot. And I think it's really good to have this information come back to council. I think it's really important that we do it this time of year. There's no point leaving it and coming back and doing it in September when we're thinking about starting the season next year. We need to do our homework now, get it done, so we can make some good decisions. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Brooks?
Just on what Councillor Goss was saying, if you look at the wages, if you look at Ross and compare Ross to Campbelltown, the hours, there's not much difference between the hours. So it should nearly be the same, shouldn't it, with Ross, what Ross took at the gate takings? Do they charge the same? Is it the same price for admission right across the board, or is it different admission, different pools?
Yeah, it's the same price, but we need to get the numbers when we're waiting on those numbers.
Yeah.
No further discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, monthly report, financial statement. The recommendation is that council receive the monthly report for the period ending the 31st of March and authorise budget alterations as listed in item 4. I'll be mover and a seconder, and then if you've got any questions of Ms Bricknell. Councillor Archer and Councillor Adams. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Andrews.
Yes, can you just talk us through those budget changes?
There wasn't any.
There weren't none, I beg your
Right. I'll put the recommendation then. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Financial, 15.2 is financial assistance request to the Illuminate Education Program. And the recommendation is that the council supports the request from an NMBA to sponsor the Illuminate Education Week and Illuminate Legacy projects to the amount of $11,000 and provide facility hire in 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Adams, Councillor Lambert. Councillor Adams, you wish to speak?
Well, I think this is a positive for the young people of our municipality, and I think they'll gain a lot. And I believe that the future leaders that will sit around this table may come out of some of this stuff, and this is very important. And add words from some of you that were at the last one that spoke highly of it. I think 200 children, 200 students, that's a great amount, so that's terrific. So I think it's a very good investment by this council.
Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I support this. Last year was the inaugural presentation week, and it was a huge success. I think we had many politicians and all sorts of people came to that final day where the students got to present their projects and their ideas for our community, and that's what impressed me the most, was the fact that they were looking at things that were relevant to our community. And I believe some of those things have been filtered back through into council and are being acted upon. And I'd like to see that continue. I'd love to see some way to connect that a little bit more, obviously, to our council in the future. But I think it's a good start to be supporting this. They are, as Councillor Adams said, our next leaders, and the people we want to stay in our community. We want them to come up with great ideas to be able to implement into our community. And I was really excited with what I saw last year. So I would like to see that continue, but perhaps next year we could get it put in the budget so we don't have to do a separate item. I think that would be appropriate. So we can do that for next
Maybe
year.
let all the councillors know when it's happening.
Yeah. Councillor Terrett.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the program. However, I can't be supportive of the 11,000. I'm happy for us to donate facilities and so forth. I went back to the youth policy and seeing how this is fit in the council's youth policy. It doesn't. There is no mention or correlation. Broadly, might be able to have a look at that. And our economic development policy also doesn't relate, in particular when we're coming out to the NMBA, which does our economic development for this municipality. The NMBA is a group of, and as you all know, a group of organisations who do have resources that they could call on. The number of members seeking assistance from, there has been some assistance given from some private companies, but we give assistance as well to the NMBA of over 90,000 per year. This is on top of what we give at the moment. There is not, and I'm happy to donate facilities and assistance, but to provide them with 11,000, which effectively we reduced in their budget this year, this is just a backdoor way of getting additional funding for this program.
Councillor McCullough.
Yeah, I concur. I love the idea from what the Mayor and Deputy Mayor have said. I think that's fantastic. But the fact that the MBA put their name to it, and we give them money already, and it was on there last year, I have a great problem with providing cash to them when we've actually reduced their budget, and I'll be looking to reduce their budget again next financial year because I don't think we get good value for money on that. More than happy to provide facilities and all the bits and pieces that go with it, and obviously the town, I think it's the town hall, the memorial hall, so that's fantastic. But I have great difficulty in producing 11,000. I'm happy to foreshadow a motion to provide everything without the $11,000 if that was congenial to everybody here, but I can't support it in its current format for those reasons. We've given them money and then they're coming back and asking for more when it should have been already in their budget.
Any further discussion, Councillor Goss?
Yeah, I probably would have liked to have seen a bit more, a business plan from the North Midlands Business Association, just about how much they get from council, how much they get from elsewhere, although cash figures, I'd like to see that. And the other thing also that I think probably, I hope that the MBA will probably do in MBA, is that I'd like to see them reach out not only just to the schools that are in Northern Midlands, but to all the students that go to private schools and Catholic schools. That they weren't reached out to, I don't think, last year, and there was only schools here, so I'd like to see them make some kind of inclusion for those students, well, because they're just as important to our North Midlands community as the students that go to the local schools in our town. So, I mean, I would like to see if the officers could take that forward to them and ask them some way how they could reach out to the other students that live in our community but don't happen to go to school in our community.
Councillor Adams, would you like to sum up?
No, I think everybody's said everything around here. Well, so we go. I can't. This continuation of conservative views that don't want to spend any money on anything to achieve anything. I don't think that's the right view. As I said, these are the future leaders. This is an opportunity for investment for this council into the future, and I think I ask councillors to support it.
I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against?
Aye.
Put your hands up against. Councillor Terrett, Councillor McCullough and Councillor Archer. The motion's carried. Okay, we're going to be moving to closed council now. Thank you, everybody.